What's happening, Facebook? You are watching the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Just getting off the ground here. Getting some invites in. What's up, Jesse? And today we're actually covering law number 12, the law of empowerment. Very important law if you're building a direct sales business, an MLM. Dakota's watching. Welcome. Joyce is on. Hello, hello. Please let us know where you are watching from. See some Indianapolis, some Wisconsin here. I believe Texas. All good places. Hi, Denise. Get out your pens, get out your pieces of paper, your notebooks. We got a good one for today. From Austin. I bet it's warm down there right now. And a great time. It's one of the places we want to visit. Actually, Austin, Texas. John's with us. What's happening? Welcome, welcome to the show. Waiting here a second. Bess, jump on with us, and we will get rolling. How's everybody's day going so far? Everybody is good. And Texas is hot right now. I did see that it was supposed to be like over 100 there, and I was like, wow, that is warm. Stephanie is with us. Welcome. Guys, we're going to give it about another 30 seconds and get started rolling here. There she is. So 1 second and we'll get rolling. There she is. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to law number 12, the law of empowerment. And Charlie is back by popular request.
Popular demand. Joe, what's happening?
And he says, Charlie says, hey, Jeff, hey, dude, I hear you got cats.
Yeah.
When are they going to come on? I love cats. I would chase them. Bring them on. You're So, welcome, everybody. I'm Bess McCarty with the MLM Millionaire Club School for Network Marketers and Jeffrey David Gamble with My Leadership Network, certified John Maxwell trainer. And we're partnering to bring you these live generic leadership shows from John Maxwell's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Our purpose, to help people grow, to empower and equip and educate entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders to raise the bar in this profession. So the law of empowerment, Charlie has taught me something about that. That's why I brought him along here today. If you're watching the replay, please type in replay so that we can thank you for that. And we'd love to also hear where you're from. So please type that in. We'll have questions at the end. So save your questions or just go ahead and type them in. And so the law of empowerment, Jeff?
Okay, we're going to get started here. So if you have your pen and notebook, always dull pencil's better than a sharp mind, as one of my leaders told me. So leaders, great leaders, gain authority by giving it away. What I was told very early on is leadership is actually usually not given to you. It's actually taken, but you have to be in the right place at the right time. Eventually, the mentor will come along that will be able to help you out. Hi, Wendy. So let's get into this. Law number 12, the law of empowerment, says only secure leaders give power to others. Typically, they won't actually give it away. It's usually taken from you. But if you're a secure leader, basically you're giving other people chances. You're giving other people responsibilities and say, hey, can you come in and fill in? And what that is that's a door opener to build yourself and others. Great things can happen when you don't care who gets the credit. Mark Twain said that. So learning the law of empowerment, there are three main barriers to empowerment. Number one, desire for job security. You know, a lot of people, you know, in a traditional setting, Patrick's there. How are you? A lot of people in a traditional setting, obviously this isn't in MLM, but a lot of people, I've seen it do it in MLM, is people love their position so much they won't involve anyone else in what they're doing, simply because, you know, they don't want anybody else to get ahead of them. One of the best feelings in the world is when you're actually able to train somebody who passes you. I've seen this several times. I've done this several times inside of my own organization. I can tell you the best thing in the morning, the best thing ever inside of a business is when you hit a certain level and you'll get, you know, credit for it. But it's better, it's always better when you're able to do that for somebody else inside your organization or on your team. So number one is desire for job security is one of the things that'll kind of knock you off track. That's one. Number two, resistance to change. Resistance to change. People don't like change up. They don't want somebody else coming in. That's another barrier. And number three, lack of self-worth. They don't feel worthy to be able to give it away. You know, maybe it's because they do feel, you know, somebody in the organization is better. Typically, it's a self-esteem thing. They don't want somebody getting ahead, getting the credit for anything that's going on. Again, I refer back to the gentleman that I was having a conversation with the other day when he got the phone call that he was actually being offered $2.4 million to actually switch companies and jump somewhere else. And he asked, he's like, do you know me? And the guy's like, yeah, your name is blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, do you know me? And he's like, well, yeah, your name's blah, blah, blah. He's like, you know, you're from this area and you're with this company. And he's like, but do you know me? And the guy's, you know, eventually it came out. He's like, but if you would have known this, you would have asked all my leadership first. Again, empowerment. He empowered all of his leadership, that his leadership is actually making decisions and making the determinations in where he's going, not necessarily him. He's not doing it all. It's a group consensus. So when you start involving other people in what you're doing, it means a lot. That's where empowerment starts to happen. Living the law of empowerment. It says find strong leaders to empower, you know, being able to give this away to other people, especially when you're starting another meeting somewhere. I like to do it, and this is a very simple way to do it. Invite somebody onto a call and have them give their testimony. That's where it starts. I'm actually working on currently helping people. There's about 45 people that I've recently asked to do their testimony, you know, for a certain company. And what it is it's their name, it's their background. It's their name, it's where they're from, it's their background. And then the last thing is why they joined their particular company. And I'm getting these stories rolling in. And then what I'm doing is I'm helping them perfect that story or that testimony so that way they're able to go out. And this empowers people to basically be able to have the ability to have a quick conversation with somebody and say, well, you know, my name is, and I'm from, and my background is this, and the reason why I joined is this. It empowers you to start telling that story, and empowers the room, especially if you have it done in a group of people. Imagine hearing story after story like that, and you're like, wow, this is really happening. This is really going someplace. So, you know, strong leaders, you want to empower other people, and you want to give them the ability to transfer that power and also that influence. That's another thing that John talks about, is the influence you have over people. You can transfer that influence for a moment to see how it works, to see what they do with it. I can't remember the exact book I was reading it in, but John was talking about when you transfer that, how that's the ultimate in responsibility, when you transfer power to somebody else and you see what they do with it. The main ingredient in empowering is belief. I believe you're at a point where you should do this. I believe you're at a point where this will make sense. Moose, how are you? So the law of empowerment basically is not only finding strong leaders, but believing in them and trusting them that they'll take this power and do the right thing with it. Tom's on. Welcome, sir. So can you trust? Is there somebody in your organization that you can trust to hand this power to? Because it's a great responsibility when you hand somebody else this responsibility to be able to talk and influence other people. Because you can either lead them on track or you can lead them off track. Leading others to the law of empowerment. If you believe you are the right person to empower, believe in that person completely and let them go do it. A lot of times it's believing in somebody enough to let them go try it and see how it works and come back and then start working on it. You know, a lot of people want exact specific instructions. I realized, you know, people really trust when they're like, here's what we need done. You find the best way to do it. Belief will allow you to lift up and give freely and support these people. So when you completely believe in them, it makes it a lot easier to empower other people. Being around them long enough, seeing what they've done in other industries, this is all important. And I'm actually, one of the books that I'm reading right now is, you know, from 101. It's the complete series of 101. And one of the last chapters I read was actually about mentorship. But before that was the law of empowerment. And it's an entire chapter basically going over how this works and what it's about. Empowerment and or equipping other people, being able to transfer that leadership. And I was interested in this because I've personally been able to produce many times on many teams, but being able to give that to somebody else and have somebody else run it was kind of a trick. I had never seen that before. I was in foreign territory when we started opening up other markets, and I was like, I don't know exactly how to transfer what I know to someone else. And until you do it, it's like you don't know it. It's a whole nother level. What I say is, you know, when you first get an MLM, the very first thing you need to do is learn to bring people onto your team. And that's frustrating enough for most people. Most people don't get to a point where they efficiently bring people onto their team. But if you can do that, you can start that wheel, then that leads to the next level of things. Teaching them what to do once they have people on their team is a whole nother level of stuff. And then teaching those people what to do. Then you get to the point where you're teaching the teachers. You know, those 4 levels. I learned to do it. I learned to, you know, what to do with other people that are coming onto my team. Then I learned to teach them to bring other people onto the team. Then I teach them how to do it with somebody else. It is a trick. How do you support your team has a lot to do with this. Where do you... Okay, so somebody's asking me a bunch of business questions. I'll answer those later. Nancy, how are you? So these are all principles. Where do you learn it? You learn it in the field. You learn it by doing it. You'll bring on, you know, 100 people onto the team, and that's where you're really going to start learning empowerment. And here's the main rule of the law of empowerment is you can't do it all. If you want to build something big, you can't do it all, and you're going to have to surround yourself with great people. That's why he talked about law of the inner circle. That's what we went over yesterday. Law of the inner circle says find the right people. Law of empowerment says what to do with them. You know, how to give this power off. And these projects off so that way you're able to accomplish a lot more. Find out what people's strengths are and incorporate them into what you're doing. So that is actually the lesson for today. And what I want to do is I want to turn this over to Bess so I can get her insights. And if you have any questions on the law of empowerment or any of the laws we went over, anything to do with specifically with leadership, as long as it's non-company specific, non-product specific, we'd love to hear your questions. Go ahead and type those into the message box. There's a little window down there. Type those in and we'll cover those as we go through this lesson. Turn this over to you, Bess.
Yes, thank you. So thank you for all of that, Jeff, and all of the good training that you bring. Thank you for being a certified John Maxwell trainer. Thank you, everybody, for the likes and loves. If you find value, hopefully you'll find enough to be able to share with people or tag people here. Yeah, we'd love to hear your questions and your insights below. And just want to say hi real quick to our friends Dakota and Patrick and Marisol and Thomas and Joel and Nancy. So glad you're all here. How this relates to network marketing specifically, this show really is for entrepreneurs, but I'll just speak a minute about MLM network marketing too. Because when you bring somebody on your team, you want them to be independent from you as soon as possible, right? You don't want to micromanage, direct, support, do everything for them, make them dependent on you, be able to control them that way, I guess. But instead, you know, you could prepare them. Hello, Donald, welcome. You could prepare someone on your team as soon as they come in and say, now my goal is to help you to be independent from me as soon as possible. And you definitely want to empower and edify and teach and train and help them to stand on their own feet and help them to do that with people. And by the way, we teach people that, how to get started right in our Sunday night basic skills class that we teach. So you could message us about that. but you want to empower them by training and teaching and recognizing, giving them little leadership opportunities here and there. Okay, do you want to open the meeting tonight? Do you want to present at the meeting tonight? Give them just their next step in growing so that they can begin to step into the leadership positions too. Abraham Lincoln, in the book, John Maxwell's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, which I'll put a link in the book, a link in the comments for you, because it's a free book that you can follow along with us. And there's cool stories in there. A lot of them is about history. And one of them was about Abraham Lincoln. And one was about Henry Ford, and how Henry Ford kind of micromanaged and even interfered in people's lives and definitely was too much of a controller. And eventually saw his business decrease because of that. Henry Ford, who invented General Motors, the Model T, the Ford cars and everything. Then he gives the example of Abraham Lincoln, who's just the opposite. At that time that Lincoln was president, most presidents were choosing, they were handpicking like-minded allies to be on the teams with them and agree with them. But what did Lincoln do? He picked people of different mind. He picked his political rivals. And he picked his disappointed antagonists so that he could unify everybody, like get everybody together on the same team, and so that he could also learn from them. We do learn more from people who don't agree with us, don't we? Think different than us than people who do. So he wanted a well-rounded. I think ultimately his idea was to unify, bring all these different factions together, and he had to empower these leaders and respect them and listen to them and trust them. And he must have had so much confidence in his leadership abilities. He didn't have fear that these people would override them. Was listening to Rob Sperry the other day on a Facebook Live, and he gave an example of somebody who attacked him. What he did is he said, you want to make friends of your enemies. So he went and asked that person for advice. Well, how can I do this better? And that person was criticizing him all over the place, a top earner. And so Rob went to him and said, hey, I want to do a good job here. What should I do? How can I do this better? So then that person gave him all sorts of good advice. He became now his friend instead of his antagonist. So that is empowering even your enemies. So you might run across this in your business, in your office, in your job, in your corporation, in your network marketing business, from upline, cross-line company, or anything like that. Certainly want to empower your team, but you can empower even, so-called or so people that appear to be antagonistic to you too. When the people on your team, though, it's to help them to their next step. That's always the goal. That's your whole goal as a leader, right? Not to empower yourself, but to empower and raise up the people, help them to their next step, whatever that may be. And we do that with love and care and teaching and training and sometimes patience, but not bullying, right? And Charlie was teaching me this the other day. We were on a walk, and I realized, man, this dog doesn't take walks. He takes very slow investigations. I know. So that's where he's teaching me patience. So I felt like, well, some of the time he should really come along and get on my agenda and walk faster with me, So I tried pulling him along. And sometimes he would agree to do that, but sometimes he just tried to insist, I really need to smell this thing, So I felt like I was pulling him along. I felt like I was kind of bullying, So I thought, how can I do this with love? And how can I reach a compromise to where I can walk, but he can smell? So I was aware that, can I do this with love and not with force? Those are my thoughts about the empowerment. Empowering people, edifying, raising them up. That's how I raised my son. Actually, I would give him choices about things. I didn't raise him to be an obedient person. I raised him to be a creative, self-thinking person. And I gave him choices about everything except that would involve health or safety. Then I had the last say about that. But think how you can empower your people one step beyond what you're doing now. And turn over to Jeff.
So guys, I'm actually going to use some of the stuff we just got out of, in listening to Bess. Some of the stuff I got out of the Complete 101, I just want to give you just a couple points that might help you better understand this, because this was really one that I did not get, empowering other people, because I was kind of a loner, do it myself. I got going, I figured it out. And when I tried to work with other people, because they wouldn't go at the speed I was going, I was just like, okay, I don't understand this. So that's where personalities really come in, and understanding people. But this is just a quick list of the law of, or not, from the law of empowerment to equipping other people. It's very similar. So number one, why do I need to equip others? It's because one person can't do everything by themselves, especially if you want to do something big. If you want to build to the $1 million level, typically you need a handful of 10 to 25 great leaders on your team to be able to accomplish that, because you're going to need 10 to 25 people to get to 100,000 for you to be able to get to those bigger levels. Number two, how can I adopt a team mindset? That's something you have to figure out. If you're an individualist that wants to go out there and do it all on your own, how do you develop that team mindset? You know, what are things to look for? What are ways to put that together? One of which is just learning about team. There's actually a book John wrote called The 17 Laws of Teamwork. There's another great book called Developing the Leaders Around You. I had read Developing the Leader Within You, and I was having enough problems. And then he said, also, there's a book called Developing Those Around You. And I was like, well, I don't even have me right yet. How do I? And he's like, you learn as you go. Part two, equipping the right people. Whom should I equip? And that's, you know, the law of the inner circle is being able to identify those people, finding your avatar. You have an avatar of who you're looking for, and then you have an avatar of who's on your team. And then basically what you do is you find the best qualities in those people and raise that up. So whom should I equip? What does a potential leader look like? You know, great question. Here's the thing. You don't want to be searching through your team trying to find the qualities. You want to find the qualities first and then look for the people, and raise the bar to those levels. Asking other people, Bess said it best in her example of Rob Sperry going after somebody who was a leader, asking him, hey, how can I do this better? Same thing is true. Go find somebody who is a great leader, find somebody who has great people on their team, and start asking them questions. Sometimes they're hard to get to. And what I mean by hard to get to is they usually guard their time. If they're good at doing this and they're bringing people onto their team and they're developing them, usually it's a harder conversation to have or to get to that person. But come with questions, come prepared. 5, what does it take to equip a leader? You know, you're only going to know that by doing it. You're also going to learn to do that by obviously interviewing somebody else who's doing it well. How can a leader inspire, or how can a leader inspire others to excel? We talk about the 5 levels of leadership. You know, level 1 being they have a position. Level 2, permission. That's where this all starts. When you start equipping somebody, it's actually at level 2 when they ask for permission or help on what to do, where to do, when to do, giving specific directions to what's going on. And then you raise the next level, teaching them how to produce. And then the next level is teaching them how to help others produce, and becoming a people developer. Number 7, how can I help others fulfill their potential? And that's really what you're looking to bring this to, is developing other people and helping them reach their potential and pushing through that comfort zone. You know, my mentor used to talk about this a lot, is that we all have a basic human instinct that basically says we're going to keep ourselves in this comfort zone. So this is actually one of the things that pushed me out of my comfort zone, is to be out there developing other people. Preachers say, I'm sorry, I couldn't read that fast enough. Preachers say that they learn more in preparation to teach. Yeah, I totally believe that. Patrick has a great point. When you go to teach somebody else, just preparing yourself, figuring it out yourself, that's where a lot of this information comes from. So I think Patrick makes a great point, is you constantly have to be in a state of growing, to be able to really transfer this information to somebody else. Not just about the stuff you like, but even the stuff you don't like. And that's why I found John's material so good, because it always brings out these other sides of the personality chart that I'm not aware of. I've been told awareness leads to thoughts, and thoughts lead to choices. So you have to become aware of what you don't know first. That's one of the things, you know, this book, John's other books, the 21 Laws of Leadership, the 5 Levels of Leadership. And where I really started getting insight about people is Winning with People. That was one of the books that really started turning on the lights, you'd say, about how other people see things, how to handle situations. I've got a couple friends, and that's mainly what we talk about. We talk about how to handle situations with people, and how to react to things, because sometimes we overreact. We take the approach of, you know, the bomb. You know, somebody talks to us, we light the wick, we explode, and then we wonder what happened. Yes. So that's kind of the insight that I have, is these 7 things. I'm going to turn this back over to Bess for some thoughts. I know some people are asking some questions here that we need to answer as well.
I was just trying to brainstorm and think of the ways, well, how do we empower people? So I'd love if you guys leave your comments here. And Mihai says, you don't eat the fruits the day after you plant it. So you can plant these seeds of empowerment in your team and be patient. Don't expect them to grow very fast. Let people take the time. I'm guessing that means the time that it takes to grow. We'd love to hear a takeaway, question, or an insight for how you empower people. If you'd like to receive a text reminder for these calls, for these shows, please private message me that information. If you want to be a member of our Facebook group, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, and you're not a member yet, no, you have to go there and request. So go to the Facebook group, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, and request. That way I can add you, or we can add you to go in there. So empowering people. What does that mean? To me, it means seeing their potential and just their next step, because you can't raise somebody from step 1 to 10 all at once, but see, oh, this person is capable of greeting people at the presentation. This person is capable of being an MC at the presentation. This one's capable of doing the body of it. And sort of like be a talent scout and see, what are they good at? What would they like to be doing? And you can ask your team that too. Should know their team's, their front line's goals and have that pasted on their refrigerator. And so that you can always refer to that when you're encouraging them to take those steps, so that you can be home with your kids, so that you can retire your husband, and speak in those terms. But see, well, what's as a teacher, really, you're a teacher, right? And a coach, more than a manager or a boss of your people, a teacher. And we want to see everyone grow. I imagine a garden that has some flowers, some trees, some fruit trees, some vegetables, and we just want, everyone's individual, but we want to help them to grow to just their next step. You are the gardener of your team, and if you're a parent, of course. So you want to water, fertilize, make sure it doesn't get too much sun or too little sun, and help people grow how you can. That is a beloved leader. That is one that people will follow.
Awesome, guys. So that is the law of empowerment, being able to transfer this over to somebody else, being able to help somebody else grow. And Bess kind of was giving down a list, and I was kind of thinking through, how I've empowered other people. It started out just like what we were talking about, asking somebody to show up and asking somebody to greet. It's really interesting when you ask somebody to serve first, before you ask their involvement to be able to lead. Serving, I've always found, if somebody can't serve, they can't lead. The reason being is if they don't see the value in helping other people first, being able to put them up in front of other people, I won't do it. So I've usually started out with somebody being a greeter, or somebody being at the table, or people, just there for enthusiasm, hey, can you come out, support the group, show up early. That's the first level. Second level is a testimonial. Being able to share a testimonial there at the end. Being able to, and based on that testimonial and how they come across, one thing that I'm doing is I'm gauging, who they are and where they're at, but I'm also gauging their presence in front of people. Do they have poise? Do they have the ability to, I guess, capture the crowd? Some people, do this very well, and some people are, kind of more taken back, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, be in front of people. I don't even want to give my testimonial on how much I like this. If you ask me, to be on film or anything, I can't do it at all. So the testimonial is then the second thing. Based on that, then we talk about maybe even an MC. What we used to do is have somebody come up and open. And unfortunately, the opening of an event is actually more important than the actual presentation of the event. The opener actually sets the mood for everything that goes on. I've seen this horribly butchered many, many times in front of direct sales, where you get the wrong person to open and they actually start asking questions of the crowd that turn everything in the wrong direction, and then the person speaking has to turn it all back around. So the opener is actually, the MC is actually more important than the speaker at the event. It's something I've learned the hard way. So the MC is actually the last thing. You have to be able to captivate. You have to be able to create. You have to be able to know what you're delivering to be able to MC. So what I always did is I went from the testimonial maybe to the first part, the product side of the business. You know, can you open and do the product side of the business? If you get good at that and you're making money, then you do the second part of the presentation, which would be what? The second part of the presentation would be actually the money side. I would bring somebody into training before I'd have them do an open house. So I would actually go, you know, a greeter, a testimonial, maybe one of the 10 core that we actually go over in our training. That's how I get people started, you know, in the training side. And typically it's just, you know, the people who are showing up, talking about what they do good. You know, I showed up to events and, you know, to be able to give their testimonial there, you know, my name is, I'm from, my background, and the reason why I've been at all the events and what this has done for me is the following. That's where I found people. I'm able to kind of work with people on their speaking. And when you're training in front of people who are already in, you're not trying to get them in, you're just trying to get them to understand what's going on. So it's really great to use people in that particular setting to be able to train people. Now, I'm talking about a much higher level of training here than most people are worried about or even get to. Most people are like, I'm just looking to get people on my team. You're talking about what to do with them once they're in. I don't even have them in yet. But it's good to know kind of where this is going, because this is where we want to bring you to. What's happening? Sorry, somebody just wrote something here. People must realize that one of the words that create those situations. Okay, I'm gonna have Bess read that next.
Yeah, are you saying?
What's that? I'm gonna have Bess cover the question from. Is it Mila?
I think Mihai. Okay. Mihai's saying know when to be silent and when to speak, because sometimes silence can be powerful.
Okay.
And sometimes that we need to be quiet. Mihai always drops these incredibly profound paragraphs in here and on the lives that I like to contemplate afterwards.
They're going by.
Right. Yeah. So thank you everyone who contributes, and we can read some of these deeper ones in the feed afterward on the replay, and we can keep the discussion going too, so we can respond to each other there, bring up more questions and everything. If anyone has a question for tomorrow that you think of, you know, after this, and you go ahead and put it on this feed or in our lunchtime, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. Hello, David. Welcome.
Welcome. So like I was saying, you know, you start out with a greeter, you go to a testimonial, you start bringing them into training, training on one of the 10 core, one of the quick start basics of what we talk about every single Sunday. And then from there, we'll start talking about having them do a testimonial at the actual open house event, where that's where, you know, we're in front of new people who have never seen this before, have never seen the presentation. That's where all your skills are really worked out. And that's why it's so important, I've always seen, to have not only an open house, but to have a training once a week to be able to, you know, basically fill the room with the new people, what to do, how to do, when to do. I did not understand that when we first started. I was like, oh my gosh, all these events and all these meetings and all this. And if you look at any great organization, you're usually, any great organization is meeting more than once a week. Any great organization of any type, anything that's being put together, and people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to be at all these meetings. Well, you're talking about developing a secondary income that's going to overtake your first income. That's what some people want. Not everybody. Some people are there for extra money, but there's some people who want to go full time. How in the world can you learn to go full time in 1 hour a week showing up to a presentation? It's going to take more than that. Anybody who thinks it's not going to take more than that, eventually you'll come to the law of understanding, which is the 22nd law of the 21 laws of leadership. I'm just kidding there. But the law of understanding means is you'll understand what the hell we're talking about. Because some people just they have no clue that it's going to take that much work to get to these levels. When I first came in, I literally thought, oh, this is just going out and showing it to some people. And as soon as I have enough people on the team, as soon as I find people who figure this out, I'm good. No, that's just where it starts. So with that, turn this back over to Bess, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. And as always, you know, where to find us and how to get this material, because we've got a whole series here.
Gosh, doesn't it always seem to take more work than you planned? Doesn't anything worthwhile seem that way? Whether it's a business, a marriage, or any project, and you're always going to run into snags, and there's always going to be stuff. So let's count on that and just gear ourselves up and put our big panties on, and 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 show up for it, because this is your future and this is your life. The next show tomorrow is the law of reproduction. So doesn't that sound a lot like duplication? So it'll be interesting to see how this fits into leadership. And hey, Jeff, what's the name of your kitties? Chipmunk?
We have Chipmunk and Bad Kitty.
Uh-huh.
Like, Bad Kitty is actually her name. Her name originally was Xena. But she adopted the name Bad Kitty after she started eating iPhone headphones and iPhone cords. She went from, you know, a free cat to a $600 cat very quickly. So she just adopted, and she actually started answering to the name Bad Kitty. We're like, man, you're a bad kitty. You keep eating things. And she would talk back to us. So I was like, well, maybe that's more appropriate for your, so we changed her name to Bad Kitty.
It's funny. Okay. We want to see Bad Kitty and Chipmunk on here. If you guys want to see the cats, type in yes, real big.
Yeah, seeing the cats is like, you know, herding cats. It's very interesting. They don't like to be on film.
No, they don't. Maybe they're not as patient as Charlie sitting here. So thank you, everybody. Patrick, Jacqueline, thank you, everybody, for being here. And we hope that you can take one thing away today and use it. Empower people, edify, build up, help them to be more of themselves, help them to bloom, help them to grow. That's what we're doing. That's what we hope we're doing with you. That's our purpose, our first purpose, help people grow, help people grow.
Awesome. Guys, with that, where do we find us? We're actually online on Facebook at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. You can also find us at our YouTube channel, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. You can find us there. All of the former lessons are there. All of the future lessons will be there. So if you haven't joined our page already, you know, please jump on there. If you're watching the replay, hit replay. If you know somebody who needs this, hit like, share. We appreciate it. Love, Chipmunks, Whiskers, Seas, you know, especially when he wants to get in your face and you get that all over your face. We say, you know, everything's better with kitty fuzz because, you know, eventually it ends up everywhere. We vacuum ourselves, we vacuum the cats, and it's still everywhere. So with that, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap up because we're digressing the cat fur. Appreciate everybody for being on, and we will talk to everybody tomorrow. Same place, same time. Thank you so much. Bess, go ahead.
Okay, one more joke. Okay, so people have pets. If people come over and they complain that there's fur, you know, if there's hair on the furniture, just say, you know, dude, that's why they call this the furniture.
Furniture. I got it. That's true.
Okay.
That is true.
That's all.
Vacuum it up. If you want to make people grow, then be ready for the rain. Yep, that's so true.